Introduction. It has often been argued that theater is political in nature because it is a part of all human activities, which are political in nature. Apart from entertaining the society, theaters perform significant roles in any society. For instance, they contribute to the processes of educating, informing, creating awareness, and addressing the daily occurrences that face the society at a given time. In 1980s, the Black society in South Africa felt oppressed by the Apartheid laws. Members of the Bantu people in the country attempted to use various forms of protest theaters as a tool of influencing change. This paper examines how the protest theaters were able to impart knowledge, increase determination, self-realization, and protest against social and political status that was deemed repressive during the apartheid regime. The role of protest arts and theater in the fight against apartheid. South Africa experienced one of the most brutal systems of racial segregation, economic discrimination, as well as social domination perpetrated by the whites. As repression continued in the country, activists were unable to protest against the oppression using the common democratic avenues. Therefore, they attempted to use theaters to make their protests heard. In 1970s and 1980s, art, music, poems, and dramas were considered as a weapon in the anti-apartheid struggles. In addition, they expressed the contrasting perceptions of the whites and blacks concerning apartheid. The South African theater art was redesigned to become a social organ that ruthlessly protested against apartheid. Despite the fact that the protest theaters provided the South African communities with a true form of entertainment, it cited flaws and shortcomings of the apartheid government in an entertaining way while still performing the role of encouraging the audience to find ways to fight oppression. Various artists protested against apartheid using music, poetry, theater, and dance. These artistic methods were mainly used to gather international support in the struggle against apartheid. For example, the African National Congress used a popular slogan called "Culture is a weapon of struggle" in its anti-apartheid movements. Albert Sachs claimed that artistic styles were needed to enable a society to portray the values of a new South Africa that was characterized with freedom from the oppression of the apartheid rules. Mabaya Cultural Ensemble, an ANC group based in London, was used to push the anti-apartheid agenda and raise awareness inside the movement. It examined the ways through which cultural activities could help in gaining national liberation. Another ANC outfit, Amandla Cultural Ensembles, was made up of ANC exiles. It acted as the ANC ambassador all over the world by promoting international awareness against apartheid and depicting the evils of the white-led government. Between 1970 and 1980, Mabaya Cultural Ensembles organized several events in an attempt to promote cultural values and create awareness on the reality of apartheid. In particular, the group used poems, political and traditional songs in an event named Poets to the People. Mabaya Cultural Ensembles presented various poems and songs. For instance, songs like Tinasizwe and Dubulan Humbumbi were performed to portray the plight of the Black South Africans and encourage people to rise up and fight the apartheid regime. Mabaya succeeded in raising the awareness of racial segregation, promoting international support for anti-apartheid, and lobbying funds for the ANC party. Amandla Cultural Ensemble played a major role in the struggle for freedom through integration of culture into the political activities of ANC from 1978 to 1990. Its performances included dramatized segments and poems integrated with traditional songs. Amandla also performed a number of dramas that portrayed the events of racial discriminations, forced migration, and the effects of colonization. In 1948 to 1994, some sets of laws were established to separate and group South Africans into the white and black races. These laws prohibited marriages between the whites and blacks. It prohibited whites and blacks from sharing social, economic, and other amenities such as restrooms, restaurants, hospitals, and schools. Obviously, the amenities meant for the blacks were substandard. During this era, people turned to music to seek refuge from the hostile world around them. Individuals and groups used songs to protest and inform the public about the unfair laws. However, the white government constantly prohibited artists from performing the anti-apartheid songs and poems in order to keep apartheid intact. Music is believed to have been one of the key reasons that ended apartheid. Bulekumbete, the Speaker of the National Parliament, confirmed that music helped the nation pull through the years of struggle. Radio Freedom carried out a discussion on liberation music. The disc jockey Rude Boy Paul defined freedom songs as the songs that activists and protesters must use to instill the idea and feeling of togetherness. Mass demonstrations were staged at different times and in different parts of South Africa. During these demos, the protesters would sing and dance to intensify the opposition. For example, after the government established and implemented the apartheid law in 1950s, the music culture became popular. In 1973, Steve Biko was denied the right to talk in public or even speak to more than one person at a time. These were some of the several other restrictions imposed on him due to his political activism, which had caused him an expulsion from university. This was a government strategy to counter rebellion in Kagablog. Stephen Buntubiko worked in visual and performed arts like songs, books, websites, theater plays, poems, films, paintings, sculptures, clothing labels, and graffiti on the walls in various townships of South Africa. The materials carried the message Biko lives. It is evident that literature and the arts played a significant role as one of the media outlets that declared Steve Biko as immortal. He found self-definition, self-realization, self-love, self-respect, self-reliance and self-expression to be the best weapon for the physical and psychological liberation for the less unfortunate people. Musicians such as Miriam Makeba, Hugh Masekela, Abdullah Ibrahim, and Vusi Malasila increasingly became internationally acclaimed South African voices. They were able to broadcast anti-apartheid messages to an audience that exiled musicians could not have done due to the government's laws that made censorship of music compulsory. Many artists sought self-exile while others fled after realizing the threats involved. The regime used this strategy to eliminate the political threat the artists posed because they were highly influential. It must be noted that the music that the exiled and exiled musicians developed played very different roles throughout the struggle for freedom and were vital for entertainment. Conclusion. Apartheid is a social, political, and economic system that favored the white supremacist in South Africa. It sought to allocate the vast majority of resources in the mineral-rich nation to the 10% minority population of white colonists and their descendants. An effective method was needed to influence the oppressed in order to encourage the black community to fight and rebel against the regime's inhuman acts. To accomplish this, protest theaters were used as a weapon for creating awareness, informing and educating the public and the victims of racial segregation. You can find this and many other essay samples on our website studycorgi.com.